here and set them in the window. This out of the way. Right, bring them on up. Make sure we got your muzzle facing downrange first. Perfect. Then just open your bolt and stand her up off in one of the racks to the side. Hey guys, this is going to be the video component of our review on the TriggerTech trigger. TriggerTech is a Canadian company, and they're pretty well known in the crossbow world. Actually, they make really nice triggers for crossbows. And recently, earlier this year, they actually released their first trigger for a Remington 700. And I've been playing with it for a couple of months now, and I gotta say, I like it a lot. One of the biggest draws of this, at least I think for newer shooters and guys that are just looking to upgrade kind of their factory rifle, is the price. I checked while I was working on the review not even a week ago, and I think they're selling direct from TriggerTech for $90 US. That's pretty damn good. I think a Timney, the best price I could find on one of those, is about $140. So this is a solid $50 cheaper than what's kind of been the de facto standard for a trigger upgrade for a Remington 700. They incorporate some, like, there's a frictionless roller technology, they call it, that they've worked into this, and it's actually really pretty neat because for the life of me, there is no creep in this trigger. And I'm gonna try and give you guys a good view of this thing here from the side, but like, if I try to wiggle this thing forward and back, there's no movement. Like, it doesn't really move side to side, front to back, anything. And if I just sit here and I add pressure and add pressure and add pressure, there's no movement at all until you hit the pull weight that you've set it for, and the trigger breaks. And that's I think that's an awesome thing, and it's a really good training tool, because if you flinch, if you're jerking the trigger, or if you're slapping the trigger and coming off of it right away, all those things influence, your group size and where your point of impact is downrange. And when you have a trigger that's, designed and set up so well that there's really no, you can't feel it. It's not like a Timney where as you're pulling it, maybe there's a little bit of creep, or maybe you feel, the internal components sliding past each other, and you can kind of tell when you're getting close to the breaking point. This thing, like, you can't tell, like, am I close to breaking? Am I not? You don't know, and, it's just, you truly do kind of surprise yourself with every shot. So I think that's a good thing, training-wise, because it helps you diagnose errors. If you're getting good groups and you're getting, a good point of impact and the bullet's landing where you're aiming it, then you're executing a really nice smooth trigger press. And if you're shanking it and you're kind of throwing rounds off a little bit, it's a lot more noticeable with this trigger. I've got a little bit of video. I went to a public range, which was probably a mistake for doing video and group shooting, because it's so loud there that I tend to be very noise sensitive. So if the guy next to me is cranking away with a 300 Win Mag, hunting rifle, and boom, it happens right as I'm, getting close to my press, I got a tendency to be kind of noise sensitive, and I wind up slapping the trigger or, jerking my own shot. But I still put some pretty good groups together with this thing. The trigger doesn't have a huge influence on group size anyway. That's got more to do with the chamber and the barrel and, things like that. but I think being able to execute a good smooth trigger press is part of it for sure. So I wanted to try to illustrate that a little bit, and I know I came up with a 3-round group that was a 1/4 MOA. I was working on a 5-round group that was going to be a 1/4 MOA too, and I pulled one, but the other 4 are in a sub 1/4 minute group, and I've got, I think, a 3rd group where it was just a little over a half MOA, about 0.6. So, you know, the rifle that I've been using to test this thing is certainly capable of accuracy, and the trigger certainly allows me to get the most out of it as long as I'm not, you know, getting my skull rocked by the muzzle brake in the lane next to me. Other things to say, you know, the installation's a snap. If you've ever changed a Remington trigger before, it's a piece of cake. I will show you. Hopefully you can see right in here, there's a little screw, or you can actually stick a screwdriver in here, and you will be able to adjust the pull weight without removing the rifle from the chassis. I think that's a pretty handy feature because, you know, if you're going to the range the first time and you try it and it feels a little heavy, you know, you can stick a little Allen wrench in here, or a screwdriver with an Allen bit in it, you know, a little bit driver or something, and you can change the pull weight. It's click adjustable. There's actually a detent that holds and maintains the trigger setting. I think that's great. So whatever you set it at, you don't have to worry about any set screws coming loose or anything, and the trigger, you know, pull weight changing on you. Whatever you set it at, it's maintained there by the detent system. And each, you know, I don't know specifically how much each click moves it. I didn't really pay much attention to that. I just used a pull gauge, looked at where it was. I like to set mine about 2 pounds, so I turned it a couple clicks, checked it again, turned a couple clicks again, checked it again, and I kept going until I got down to the 2 pounds that I generally like. The shoe's pretty comfortable. I mean, it's a standard, you know, Remington trigger shoe. There's some little ridges on the front of it here, so it's, you know, it's nothing groundbreaking there. But the big thing, honestly, is how smooth it is. Like there's no movement. That frictionless roller technology that they use, I don't know how it all works. I'm not an engineer, but whatever they've done, there is no movement in this trigger. There's no creep, there's no pre-travel. It's just you add some pressure, you apply a little more, there's no movement in the trigger, and when you hit 2 pounds or wherever you got it set, bang. And that's pretty unique. Every other trigger I've tried, with the exception of one that costs close to 4 times as much as this one, has got some kind of creep or pre-travel in it. So I think price-wise, it's definitely a bargain. I think this is going to become, you know, maybe the new go-to Remington 700 trigger upgrade. So if you have any questions, you know, drop them here in the comments, or send us an email over on the site.
Once the lights are, keep this part of your head squeezed tight. Yep, squeeze. Okay. Here I go, left target.
Which one?
The one on the left, you're pointing in the wrong direction. There you go. Enjoy.